we are going to talk to Cliff about setting up a wholesale operation. We're going to talk sports because I know everybody really likes to talk about sports. And we're also going to talk about maybe a little bit about what it's like to drive, and then a little bit specifically about my driving. And I want to let you know, we're so committed to bringing you this podcast that it may sound like a complete construction zone around us, but we really wanted to make sure that you guys got this information today. So I'm Christian Lafferty, this is Cliff Honeycutt, and welcome to Parts Hold. So we got into a little discussion. Tell me about some of your favorite sporting events to attend.
So we've done, when my boys were younger, we did all the sporting events. And
sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Just so to put context to this, Cliff actually became a parent at 9. So he has like fully grown human children. Continue on.
Yes, absolutely. So both my boys played football. That's probably my favorite. It was just enjoyable to be there. There was a time where we would go, a Friday night, then we'd have games on Saturday. My oldest one played some college football.
Yeah, I was going to ask, which did you like better? Did you like watching them in high school or college?
High school. Actually, if I were truthful, Pop Warner was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Because think about it, when those kids get the ball, they believe they've been playing Madden for so long, and they're ready. They think they got the hit stick. They think that that's real life. And their helmets are always really, really big, so they're kind of bobbling around. That's probably my favorite. If it wouldn't be so weird, I would go watch games now. So if I have some friends out there that have small children that are playing, I'll go watch them, just because that's enjoyable to me, watching them. They're so passionate about it. They believe they're better than everybody. I remember my oldest one came after his first practice. Just so for clarification purposes, he's not super fast. He's just not. That's just not a trait. But the first one, he was like, oh, I think I can be running back. I think I can be quarterback. I think, like, he knew in his mind that he could play every
22 positions.
Absolutely. And he was going to the Super Bowl. He was going to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I think that's my favorite. But I do miss the high school days. I miss, I'm kind of leery to say this, but I miss the traveling on Saturday to the college games. The college was 5 hours away from where we were.
Yeah, that was a commitment, right?
That's correct.
Every Saturday.
That's correct. Ride up, go to the game. If it was an afternoon game or 11 o'clock game, we would go have dinner and then turn around and go back. The drive back home was awful.
Cliff also is the only coach in Chris Collins history with his own theme song. I'm trying to decide if we should do that on the show or not, but there's several versions of it. They're pretty good.
I'll see if I can practice and get more, have a better singing voice.
Yeah.
I think I can get something down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you, so I've been to a lot of sporting events too over my illustrious career, and nothing was more exciting. Well, maybe, but nothing was really more exciting. So Chris and I got to go to a Tampa Bay Lightning hockey playoff game.
Oh.
And we sat on the glass. And I gotta tell you, pro hockey is fast and it is hard hitting and is so exciting.
So
now,
did they bang against the glass where y'all were
within the first 45 seconds? So he and I were crazy that day. So he and I both had water sitting on the little the ledge right there.
That's awesome.
And within 45 seconds, two dudes come crashing into the glass. Our waters go flying off of the ledge. It was so awesome. It was hilarious that happened. I thought that was cool. I've also pretty lucky coming from Chicago, so I've gotten to go to Cubs games at Wrigley Field, which I thought was really, really amazing. But nothing was more electric than that hockey playoff game. And who knew that Florida had such great hockey fans? But it was really an exciting thing. But I kind of I wonder. I don't have my son is not necessarily athletically gifted. I do not believe he'll be pursuing a lot of the sports activities, which is sad a little bit. But at the same time, he does have his things he has things he's passionate about. So it's just not every kid's an athlete.
Well, I think sometimes we often put too much value on that. I just enjoyed going to them. I just enjoy watching any sporting event. I enjoy we have a minor league hockey team in Charlotte that I think some of the funnest games ever. Like, they're just enjoyable to watch and just be around. There's
Yeah,
more
it's an
energy
activity,
there.
right?
I would like to do a Green Bay Packers game, and I'm missing
Can't
this
stand
one.
the Packers.
Well, I understand that, and I respect that. But just to be in that field, I really don't care about the Packers either.
Yeah.
No offense to all my Milwaukee stores.
Yeah, they get it. The
I
Packers are awful.
But I want to just go to the stadium.
Yeah.
Maybe in the dead of winter. I don't know that I can handle it.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy cold, but it's okay. It kind of leads us into our next discussion. We're talking about driving, and our topic today is how to set up your wholesale routes,
Yes.
right? And I think that there's a lot of ways to do this. I think the easy way is to do it geographically, but you've got a couple of really, really cool, I would call them novel ideas in terms of like how to set up a wholesale route. And I think that obviously there's so many variables in it, but you kind of have a system. It's like, okay, so this is how we set this thing up. So if you guys are looking to kind of dive into the wholesale business, or maybe even, relook at your routes and what you guys are doing in terms of getting parts to your customers on that delivery side, I think that maybe you're going to pick up a couple of things out of this episode that are really going to be valuable for you.
So you just made a good point, because I would like to ask that question first. I think as a parts manager, you have to ask yourself to begin with, do I want to be in the wholesale business? Do I want to make an effort for it? It's not something that you just dabble in. It's not something that you maybe just dip your toes in. It's a full commitment.
It is
you
a jump in a pool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you jump in the deep end in a lot of ways. I don't even think you wade in. And so maybe we need to say the first thing is a decision to be a part of wholesale and a decision to make an approach to wholesale. Once I make the decision, I do think that there has to be a system in place. And I would even tag team on the decision. And there's a lot of options to weigh when we look at decision to be in wholesale. We've kind of talked about it previously, and we've talked about it amongst ourselves, that operating a parts department, I have to do it in separate businesses. And so I'm going to treat the wholesale business completely separate from my internal business and from my service business. I want to run it differently, I want to plan it differently, and I want to build a strategy differently than I do the other businesses. So number one is the decision to get into it. I need to weigh those options, the pros and cons. The second part of that is, I think when you're deciding to get into the business and you're trying to build a pathway to it, is being really strategic in your collaborations with other businesses and other
so unpack that a little bit.
So if you have just a single brand, it works really, really well if you're a multiple franchise store.
Or so if I've got Honda, Nissan, Audi, BMW, Kia, all under like my umbrella.
Yep.
There's more value to having wholesale than if you're a single point.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So if I've got a business, for those of you out there, parts managers that are part of a group, it would be really easy for one of you to stand up and say, hey, I want to build this for our group, and then you build it together with the multiple rooftops. If you are a single brand and a single point, you're going to have to start building some relationships out there and collaborating with other manufacturers. If you're a single point Chrysler Dodge Jeep store, it may be really, really good to get in bed with the Ford store or the GM store. I do think you need to look at a reputation of those stores, but a collaboration in groups.
Oh, so you're going for the person, not just the brand. I like that idea. Yeah, just remember who you're working with.
Yes.
That's just good business advice in general.
So
nice. I like that.
Collaboration. But let's dive into kind of our breakdown of our list.
Okay.
So number one is speed.
Speed and execution are key?
Speed and execution are absolute key with wholesale business. Speed in the way I'm checking in the orders, speed in the way that I'm getting them to the client and the customer. However, I wouldn't hire you as a delivery driver.
You said speed was important.
Speed as in timeliness, not speed as in 65 and a 35.
I think that you'd be hard pressed to find a parts delivery person that would be faster than me.
I would completely agree with that statement.
Yeah. I'm available.
I would say dangerous. to others around you, but I will give you props. I've ridden with you many times, and I'm still here.
That's right. And I'm pretty sure that a parts truck can do 105 miles an hour. Continue.
I don't know. Can you imagine doing 105 in a Sprinter van?
Yes, I can.
That would be insane. So speed. Look at strategically the way it's laid out. I'm going to skip forward and then go back to the other one.
Okay.
So there's no particular order to these, in as far as doing a number one, the top one, but mapping out and laying out your city. So if you live by a big metropolitan area or some major highways, I would try to divide delivery areas based on highways.
Yeah, so this is something that's really cool. So Cliff and I were kind of prepping for this. He showed me a couple of really awesome, very well done maps, and the thing that was so interesting to me is that there was so much strategy and thought behind what you were doing in the maps. Like, I would say that it's probably one of your superpowers is creating a wholesale map around pretty much, I'm gonna guess you figure out any geographic area, but the way that you did those few that I saw, just unbelievable to me, the amount of different variables, because I think most people just do it geographically.
Yeah, they're just looking at a.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the way that he laid it, just brilliant. It was really cool.
I think the other side of that is it can't just be a throw up, and I don't want to leave that up to the delivery driver.
Oh, so you think it's got to be really structured?
I think it has to be structured. You're going to have to lay it out, especially early on as you're diving into it. You may figure out that going to the furthest point is better and then working your way back. You may figure out that working your way through to the furthest point and then coming back is the idea. But you're going to have to lay it out on major highways and use that pathway. Your collaborations with other stores is key too, because their location would be an opportunity to lay out the map differently as well.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Now, how often do you run into situations where you're busting the boundaries and you're like, you got driver 14 in his range, and then there's something that's in zone 15 just past and he'll be right there. You're like, hop over into 15 and
well, now, so keep that in mind too. If you are on a major highway and you're splitting it off that way, it may be one truck behind the other, at least to start with. So I do think you're going to have to figure out a divide area. And oftentimes, what I've experienced and what I've seen in other places is sometimes you lay out an area and you have to be willing to go back and change that because you find that one area is overloaded with deliveries and that driver's getting back super late, or your client is not getting parts in a timely manner. Whatever the case is, you may have to go back and regroup on the layout of the map. So don't be so dogmatic on the structure of the map that you're unwilling to change. If it demands a change, be willing to change on the fly and change at a moment's notice.
Yeah, so I was going to ask that. So thinking back when you set up your last big wholesale operation, how many times did you change the routes in the first 6 months?
Probably 6 to 7.
So once a month you changed it?
Once a month.
Okay, that makes sense. So being flexible with what you do, and maybe don't even assume that you won't get it right the first time.
Oh, I would go in with, this is the way we're going to lay it out, but I'm probably going to change it.
Okay, so that's what you tell the drivers, you tell everybody.
Yes.
There's a
because
thing.
the driver gets really comfortable with the clients and customers. The really good delivery drivers out there that I've experienced and that I've known, you're almost like, I'm thinking back to delivery drivers that came to the stores, you're almost anticipating that driver being there at a particular time because you enjoy talking to them.
That's right.
It may be around sports, it may be around something else, weather, market, economy, but you're anticipating them being there and you're almost excited for them to be there.
Yeah.
But drivers get really comfortable and they take it very personal when you pull the rug out from under them. So use them to build your program.
I like that.
Yep. So the next thing is building partners around the manufacturer, not only in your collaborations, but building partners with the manufacturer. Look at their programs that they're offering. There may be some incentives. I can think back to some of the manufacturers offered some mileage reimbursements if you kept track of it properly, and if you were laying it out, they would give you reimbursements back for it. So you're wise to look at the manufacturer programs and build a partnership with the manufacturer instead of fighting them on it.
I bet that's free money most people don't get.
They probably don't even know what's out there.
Yeah.
So again, when you're making the decision to look at it, it may be wise to go ahead and approach your manufacturer, your rep, and figure out what programs are out there so that you can build your program related to that. And even in the collaboration, you might be able to assist somebody else. They scratch your back, the whole 9
That's
yards.
great.
So the next thing is hours. Hours is a really, really tricky one. I think when you're designing your wholesale operation, remember that they're expecting their parts early. And so when you're building that, you need to have your shipping and receiving guy probably come there earlier, whatever your order looks like and however long it takes them to check that in. But you're going to want to set that up so that they're there beforehand, checking their orders in. Everything's preloaded into a section. That's maybe something we could talk about at a later date.
Yeah, I remember I've seen parts rooms where they'll have the route taped off.
Yes.
And then the parts go in the floor.
Yeah, so they can't just randomly look around. Again, going back to one of the other ones is speed. So we want to set up our hours of operation and the hours in which our crew comes in. We want to be that related around our delivery schedule.
Yeah.
You made a great point earlier when we were discussing that about having your drivers be back really late.
Yeah, it's a nightmare because you're just paying extra time for them to sit in traffic.
Yeah, so if you're in a metropolitan area, I think is the way you stated it. If you're in a metropolitan area, getting the driver back at 3 o'clock would
Three is
probably
my magic number with the metro areas that I've worked in. I just think that it's a really, really good time where the client wants all their parts well before that anyways, if they can get them. So I think start early, end early is kind of the way to go with that. And also I think that, shipping and receiving wise, if you have any say-so in your parts delivery from the manufacturer, take the early route. The earlier the better. And honestly, if you could get someone, a parts guy checking parts in at 5 in the morning, you could send people out at 6.
So I know several operations that they're either running a 24-hour thing, that these are really, really large wholesalers. They're running a 24-hour shift, or they have guys coming in at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Checking in the order. And,
I like that.
They get in and get out. I think there's a benefit to having that all checked in. You don't have to have some of the conversations, and your advisors, your parts advisors, and your service advisors, for that matter, are not coming in asking it. So that's even an extra thing on there.
Yeah.
All right, so we're breaking it down here. I want to go with a design with intent. So when you're designing the program, I think you got to have your intent. So you need to have a vision. That vision could change, but I think when you're designing it, even the layout, the mapping, the collaborations, the partnering with the manufacturer, I think you have to design everything with an intent. And what is your intent? You have to go in with a goal, write the goal down, have something plastered on your office, on your door, or on your window rather. But there needs to be an intent with your design of it and how it lays out. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
And then the last thing is marketing. So marketing is a key factor in building your wholesale program and building the design of it. How are you going to market it, and what are you going to do to market it? Mm-hmm. I'm not suggesting that you hire multiple companies out there, but marketing can be something far simpler, like just getting the name out there.
Well, yeah, there's also that. You can plan routes around, I think that's the great thing is that the best delivery drivers are great spokespeople for your parts department. So you can send people out where maybe they finish their route at 1:30, maybe from 1:30 to 2:30, they're pounding pavement and going out, dropping flyers, dropping cards, stuff like that. So they could spend an hour a day recruiting. And then what I would do personally is I would spiff that driver off of any new accounts.
Absolutely.
Personally. So that's exactly what I would do, but I'm sure you probably have other things you've seen that have worked.
I've seen where they paid them an increase. I've seen where they've spiffed them, a flat fee. There's multiple ways you could do that, but I think that your best delivery drivers are actually wholesale representatives to other businesses and going out and marketing. Because at the end of the day, they want to be busy too.
Well, they want to feel like they're part of the thing, right?
Yeah, build your program with them in there. So yeah. Yes, for sure. But that's my list of items. Again, let's just kind of go back through them. We need to make a decision. We need to build collaborations with other places. The speed of which we do things, the hours, we want to design with an intent. We want to market and build a marketing based on that. And then the last thing is mapping and laying everything out.
Good stuff. Well, I think that gives everybody a really, really good idea on how to get started. If you make the decision to go to wholesale, I think that that it can be really, really beneficial for the parts department. I think it can be really, really beneficial for the store. There's a lot of upside, but I think the thing that Cliff said at the opening of the discussion is that you cannot dip your toes in the pool. Like if you're going to do it, do it.
Jump in.
And be willing to commit the time, the energy, the resources towards it.
Absolutely.
And don't cry uncle the first time it gets hard, because it's going to be hard.
It's going to be difficult,
Yep.
for sure.
All right, well, that would do it for today. We can't wait to see you next time on Parts Hold.